All right. What is up, everybody? This is Chris Culbertson, and today we are talking with the Michigan Kayak Trail State Champion of 2022, and we're going to be talking to them about their preseason prep, the lakes that they're expected to fish this year, and maybe some of the sponsors or tips or tricks they have for a successful season. So let's give Tim DeSmit a call right now, see if we can get him online. Hey,
Man,
what's up, dude? How you been?
good, busy.
Yeah. Are you getting all the prep like all the other folks I see on Facebook?
Not even close, man.
What?
I'm moving like baits and stuff around, but like far as my kayaks, I'm not even looking at them right now because I don't know what I'm going to be using. So
Nice. All right. Well, let's jump into it. So you are the reigning Michigan Kayak Trail State Champion. Congratulations. Looking at last season, you seem to have a decent amount of success. Tell us a little bit about last season before we get into next season.
So basically, the first couple years that I was doing it, I was just trying all the new stuff that has come out, all new techniques and stuff. But I haven't bass fished for like 20 years. So I'm used to the old school stuff, spinner baits, frogging, just normal, easy stuff. And then like drop shot, that's all new stuff I've never heard of until a couple years ago.
Really?
So I tried all that stuff and realized I'm not good at that. So last year I went back to just straight swim baits, spinner baits, frog, topwater, stuff that I grew up using.
Yeah, sticking to your strengths.
Yep.
Yeah, like for me personally, I find out about like jerk baits and drop baits and Nico rigs and all these different baits that I could be using. And I feel like last year I was just trying so many different things that I had 12 rods on my boat and didn't really know what to pick up. But it sounds like you were fishing to your strengths last season.
Yeah. Yep. And even when I was out, I was constantly looking to find fish and catch them the way I'm good at catching fish.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to stay under 7-8 foot of water most of the year.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting. Yeah. Like the first season I got really into this, I was always out deep, and then I switched to like mostly up shallow, probably 8 feet or less. So like, let's think about the season. You started out, where was our first stop? Can you remember?
White Lake.
White Lake. So, and you won that event, didn't you?
Yeah. Yep.
Nice. So, that always helps to start with a win, right?
Yeah.
Did you expect to do that well?
No, my goal, like beginning the season, was to just place in an MKT tournament.
Uh-huh.
That was it. I just wanted to get in the top 10 and place in the top 10. That was my goal.
One of the things I remember of last season is it seemed like you found a way to be very consistent. Do you feel like in each event then, like you were fishing to your strengths at every event? Was there ever an event that you really felt like, I don't know what to do here, but still finish well?
So when I went and fished Kent Lake in Huron, never been over there. Struggled in practice for 2 days over there and caught one keeper fish.
Wow.
Like one nice fish, and that was it. And so I made a move on tournament day and went and fished a spot in the river that it looked good, but I've never been on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up finding fish later, but I caught everything later on a frog. Like that's my cup of tea.
Wow.
I mean, I caught my first ever smallmouth up in 2 foot of water in thick pads and weeds. I think it was like a 19-inch smallmouth on a frog. I've never done that before.
I've caught a smallmouth once on a frog, and it was like, there's just no way. I
didn't know what it was at first, because when it hit it, it went 100-mile-an-hour right back toward me, and I couldn't even catch up to it. My line is just like looped underneath the weeds and the pads, and like it was already coming out to the kayak before, and I didn't have no clue what it was.
Yeah, smallmouth are wild, especially river smallmouth, I've learned.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I remember in the Grand River State Championship, you also were on a frog, right? Now,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong.
So, well, day one, I tried frog in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Anything happened. And I don't think I got a fish until after 9 o'clock, maybe, on the first day.
Wow.
And then I started getting into them, and everything was on a spinnerbait. And then the second day completely changed up, and I caught all my fish on a frog right away.
Yeah.
Same exact spot, too. Like, same area I was throwing day before, and I couldn't get them to fire up on it. It's like, I actually had them hitting Sunday morning, and it was so dark yet when it started,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't see it, but I could hear a splash, and then I was trying to feel the tension and see if they were on it. And then by that time I was setting the hook so late, like I had 2 or 3 fish that I just missed. Like I could hear the splashing, but I didn't know, dude, that I hit mine. Was that just jumping next to me somewhere?
That's so crazy to me because I knew the area could be good for a frog. I caught most of mine on like a wacky rig Nico type super finessey bait.
Yeah.
Do you like? I don't think I have a frog rod anymore. I sold it. What tips do you have for people who are trying to use a frog? It seems like it can be a big fish player. Like, how do you fish a frog? What is your favorite way to fish it?
So I use a medium heavy rod with a fast tip. I'm using the Abu Garcia winch rod.
Okay.
Absolutely love it. It's still got plenty of backbone to haul them up in there. I run around 45-pound test braided.
Okay.
And I got it paired up with the Revo 10-to-1 reel, which you need to get them.
Yeah, I've seen you talking about those. They're fast, aren't they?
So fast. Like, the fish is not getting away from me. Like, all it takes is a turn and you gain 40 inches of line. Like, it's insane. But the biggest thing I do is I'm constantly looking for little pockets or something that's a little bit different in each spot I'm fishing. Like something I'm like, oh, that's like a little different spot. There's a couple pieces of grass sticking out there. I work that. And if I catch fish there, then I'm constantly looking for that everywhere I go. Or if I'm only getting the hits in little open pockets, or if I'm only getting the hits at the edge of the pads, like after I come off. And I always give it one quick jerk after I come off the pads and let it sit for 3-4 seconds. Okay. And then I give it a small push. So if there's one sitting there just watching it, just to try to get them to fire. And they work really good.
Are you changing between like, I don't know, like I use a Spro, right? And I use a popper frog. Do you switch between the two, or do you lean more towards one than the other?
So mostly, I'll even show you. I got one here. I use the same frog. Like, I don't ever use poppers. I just don't like them because I like to fish the same frog in open water or cover. Okay. And the poppers get hung up in the weeds a lot easier. So like this is the Savage Gear DC. So like with this, I'll use this and just kind of walk it. But also I cut the legs. I mean, I cut quite a bit off. Okay. And then if you say cut one a little bit shorter than the other, it'll make it move sideways every time you twitch it. So it'll give that walking effect because one's dragging more than the other one. All right. I do sometimes like leaving these out in the sun, warming them up, softening them up. Okay. I'll even bend my hooks up a little bit on these so they stick up a little bit higher too, and maybe even out a little bit from the frog. Yeah. I have pretty good success with frogs. Like, I don't lose a lot of fish. Once I have them on, they're...
That's wild. I definitely want to try to use a frog a little bit more, but I was looking at the schedule and I don't know about you. When I say schedule, I'm talking mainly Michigan Kayak Trail. When I look at the Michigan Kayak Trail, it's starting to speak more smallmouth to me. Yeah. And like, we're all going to start, I'm pretty sure, on St. Clair, right? And I know you have like the giant from St. Clair. You post it every time I get on Facebook. I'm seeing that picture. Tell me about the time you caught, what was it, a 22?
Yeah.
Tell 22. Me about this time you caught a 22 on St. Clair.
So we're out pre-fishing, and I found fish in a lot of spots. Basically everything was on rocks. And anytime I found rocks, I found fish. Okay. I did find a spot where there's like a trench where something just cleared out a bunch of ground. Like, it was only like a foot deeper than everything else. Right. And about 10 foot wide. But there was fish sitting in there, but there wasn't anything big. So moved around, and I went to another spot with another guy, and we launched, and all of a sudden I'm looking at my side scan, and I see a bunch of little spots on it on the side scan.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know what this is. It's just bare ground. There's nothing special. Like, there's no rocks, there's no weeds, just nothing. And I threw out and instantly hooked up with a smallmouth. And I'm like, at first I thought they were like perch. Yeah. But then I realized it was all smallmouth, and this whole area was just schooled up with smallies. Wow. And they were, anywhere from 8 to 10 foot of water. Okay. And sometimes it was literally, there'd be a spot of, you could see 10 of them in a tight round school, like all sitting together. Mm-hmm. And other times you'd see 2 or 3, like just kind of cruising with each other. And those ones that had the smaller groups had the bigger fish. I think I caught that big one out in about 12 foot of water. Okay. And I literally saw him on my side scan, saw a couple fish over there, and threw out, and it literally hit probably a foot before it hit bottom. I never even got a crank on it. Like, I just felt the thump, and he was on there.
Wow. That's dope.
But, and that was on.
Yep.
Have you used those yet?
You've shared those to me. You said them to me. I'm not going to say them out loud because there's some things that are like, wow, that's sick. I think that's a big player. I saw something actually very similar to that coming out of Bass Pro Shops for like $6. So I'll send this to you. I'll send a picture to you after we're done, because I want to see how you might be able to use it, because it looks very similar to what you just showed me. So thinking about that, I'm actually curious now. Do you prefer largemouth or smallmouth, or does it not matter to you?
It's more the type. Yeah. The type of fishing I'm doing. I don't like fishing deep water. Mm-hmm. So fishing smallmouth deep water is just not fun. Mm-hmm. I don't like it. It's too slow. Yeah. I like power fishing. I like using swim baits for smallmouth. Okay. If you can find a spot where they're hanging on a drop off in that 8 to 10 foot of water, and run a swim bait there all day, or even a top water. Yeah. With smallmouth, that's a blast. But otherwise, my bread and butter is largemouth and thick, heavy cover. I mean, pads, cattails, frogging, swim jig, up and thick stuff. That's it. Nice. Like, I should probably move to Florida, because I hear that they do that a lot. Yeah,
it's looking pretty good watching this Bassmasters. Actually, that's why that's what gave me the idea, was I'm getting so amped up about the tournament season, right? And then I thought to myself, all right, well, this guy seemed to do pretty well with the largemouth and pretty well with the smallmouth, let's be honest. But then I'm looking at a schedule that feels mostly smallmouth. Like, when you start to prepare for a season, it sounds like you set some goals and then you kind of just fish. So, like, what does your prep look like?
So this year I'm changing things up. Probably going to get an Old Town, probably the big water, PDL, but I'm probably going to get Spot Lock, an XI3 for the front. Okay. Just because of the lakes we're fishing.
Game changer. Mm-hmm.
I do have a Crescent Shoaly, which will be my, largemouth, pads, heavy cover stuff. I'll use that for that with a Newport motor on the back, because I just need to go from place to place fast. Okay.
So you have a big water boat and a maybe shallower presentation boat.
Yep, something that can paddle, stand up and paddle really easy. Yeah. Like in thick vegetation, don't have to worry about a pedal drive. And then I'm looking actually into live scope this year.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay. So the champ is getting live scope. I've heard back and forth about a live scope. Like, when you're thinking about getting a live scope, everyone's upgrading, everyone's looking at boats, everyone's looking at like sonars and gear. When you're thinking live scope, like, what are your pros and cons of getting it?
So the cons is I fish shallow water.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to do it, but with our schedule this year for MKT, you're looking at big water, not a lot of cover, not a lot of vegetation. It's going to be smallmouth. Yep. Burt mullet, torch chain.
Yep.
I'm going to have spot lock to keep myself in spots. And then especially if we hit them where they're on the beds.
Mm-hmm.
If they're bedding and it gets rough, you're not going to be able to find them.
No.
So that's what I'm looking at the live scope. I'm like, even if it's rough, I can see them in the beds.
Right. So you'll be able to lock down into a spot, which is essentially the way I understand spot lock is you basically don't move between a foot either way.
Right.
So you can lock down, basically helicopter over them, use live scope to see them, and then you also get to see your bait. So yeah. Okay. Massive pro. So, that makes a lot of sense.
That's why I'm looking to go that route, just because of the schedule this year. Okay. I'm selling the whole week. Just completely changing out. So
nice. Yeah, that's what's interesting is I feel like most people think about like maybe changing their mindset, maybe changing their baits, but you're talking about like full on setups for different situations. Yeah.
Yep. Full on setup change. I'm probably going to fish the same way, same style.
Sure.
I do have a certain way that I bed fish.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like Ned fishing. Ned rigs is not my thing.
Yeah, I don't use much Neds either.
But the funny thing is, the baits I showed you, I use them the same way they use as Ned rigs around docks.
Okay.
And had pretty good success on like our lakeshore and topwater. I fished around docks using that bait and did really well.
Yeah, I don't know much about your topwater world life seasons. How's it been going in the league for you?
I hit second place again this year. Last year.
So you're still up there, but I just asked because the day-long MKTs are different than a 3-hour derby. But it sounds like you've found success in both formats. Yeah,
so the last 2 seasons I finished second for Angler of the Year in the Topwater Lakeshore Series. Got beat up by someone different both years.
Yeah. All right. Okay. A little bit of fire in your belly still.
Yeah, so I think out of 10 tournaments, I had 3 second place finishes and 2 first place finishes.
Nice.
I wasn't real serious though in a lot of it because I was prepping for going over to like St. Clair.
Yeah.
So my mindset was like in a couple tournaments was already focused on like I'm going to St. Clair. I can't wait. Never been there. Like so excited. Mm-hmm. Never been over there. Just hear all these stories and. Like I was like that for like almost 2 weeks, I think, before.
For sure. Let's talk about that mentality for a little bit. So moving into this season, do you feel pressure holding on to that crown? You've got the MKT success, you've got league success. Like, how do you balance the pressure of wanting to either improve or that people are going to be gunning for you now?
I'm all about being competitive.
Yeah.
Like I love it. But I think I got to change because I was always talking crap to everyone. Like
that's how you and I met.
That's how I am.
Yeah.
But now I got to change how I do it because before I had nothing to prove because I was just new, you know? So now that I actually had a good year, now I'm like, well, now I can't talk as much back because it might come off cocky and I don't want it to be like that.
Yeah.
So, but it's still me. That's just how I am. I enjoy that. I like this part of it. I enjoy.
Yeah. I mean, what I like about I think our community is like you are like West Side angler, if I'm not correct, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Me over East Side. We're both quite competitive. We both chatted on Facebook, but we can both sit down and talk about it too. Like,
right.
You know, I think we have a good, healthy community of people who love to talk, and we all know who they are. But then at check-in, it's all just laughs and seeing how people did for the most part, I hope, you know. So I like that positivity in the kayak fishing community in Michigan. So that's pretty cool. Let's see. All right. My last question is, and I don't think a lot of people know this, but the only reason I got into MKT was I think it was White Muskegon and we were low on numbers because of COVID and other things going on. And you posted that the East Siders are chickens. And I was like, no. And I went to my first MKT event and actually had a great time. So for those people who, you know, maybe in the topwater leagues and they're getting a taste of competition and what it feels like, what advice do you have to the new anglers who are maybe on the edge about doing MKT, maybe a little bit intimidated by the maybe the feeling of competitiveness, but you've been there, you've done it, you've got into it.
Yeah.
What advice would you have to those new anglers who are thinking about MKT but not so sure?
So I started in top water only, just to get experience of being in a kayak on the water and around other guys. And then the next year I moved into top water and MKT. The more you do it, the more experience you get, the more comfortable you feel. And you just got to find fish. Like, that's all it is. You just got to find fish. You're never just going to walk into it. I mean, you can, but it's not likely to happen just to walk in your first day, first time ever fishing and just kill it. I mean,
it's hard to do.
I mean, it's so you just got to go out there, you get the experience, and you learn. And that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to describe. Like, you have to get your feet wet. You just have to go. You just have to try it. And then once you're in it, you're like, okay, this is starting to make sense. And then, like, you may just have like a great year. Like, you've earned it. You had that great year and you're state champ right now. It can happen that fast.
My very first tournament, bass tournament, kayak tournament ever, was at Muskegon Lake. It was for MKT. So I never fished any other tournament, top water, nothing. I went and fished MKT, and we had like 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts that day. And I'm just in a little paddle kayak, and I launched at a spot that was kind of out of the wind.
Yeah.
And I'm in a $300 kayak. And I launched, and sure enough, of all people, guess who launched right next to me? Tom Mullins. Him and Keith actually launched at the same spot, and we ended up fishing the same area. And I like I said, that's my first ever tournament. I think I finished 17th.
Okay.
I pretty much caught all my fish in the same area. I tried to move other places, it was just too rough.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, man, I appreciate you. I don't know if I'm going to mix this down and get it out. Well, if we do, it gets out. Hopefully that's great. If it does get out, do you have any sponsors you want to shout out before I let you go?
So like I said, I use Water Dog. Mostly anybody that's with the kayak fishing in Michigan knows who Water Dog is. He's carrying some new stuff this year. We'll be at the sports show here next month. He's going to have a bunch of sales, life jackets and stuff like that, kayaks, e-bikes.
Sweet.
But he's also carrying flannel gear and stuff, tackle boxes and backpacks and stuff, which is kind of new.
Okay, nice.
So I got them, and I got, of course, Power Pole. And then I'm in the works of a new one. Still doing paperwork and stuff.
Nice.
Hopefully I'll be able to put that one out there pretty soon.
Sweet. We'll be looking for it. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you. Good luck this season. I'll see you on St. Clair probably. You going to do it?
Oh, absolutely, man.
For sure.
Yeah. I'll be over there Thursday, Friday, man, before pre-fishing.
Nice. All right, man. Well,
so you want to come fish with me?
Yeah.
Send me out.
Let's do it. Let's do it. We'll team up. Well, hey, I appreciate you.
Yeah, you too, man.
All right, we'll see you. All right, that was Tim DeSmit, Michigan Kayak Trail State Championship for the 2022 season, talking about his prep, talking about some of his baits, and talking about some of his mentality looking forward to this new season. Again, the opener is Lake St. Clair. It's going to be a KBF and an MKT collaboration, so make sure you go check out the information on that Facebook page. Thank you for listening. Please like and share. We'll see you later.